Datasound Laboratories. We've been around since 1991. We're PCB designers, electronic product builders, and we distribute industrial touchscreen products. So when I took over the business, there were areas that needed investment, CRM clearly being one of them. We found we were being very restrictive in how we could make company policy based on not being able to see data. We did have one way out, which was we could export the data to Excel, so we could do a lot of fancy stuff in Excel and very competent in Excel. The problem is you can draw a conclusion and then tomorrow the data's all updated behind you, your static Excel spreadsheet is out of date and you have to run it all again. So I was having to make really big decisions on incomplete data. So I think for me the key decision making on Workbooks as a platform was that Workbooks had the ideal combination of complexity that allowed me to find out any data I want, but accessibility that enabled me as a non-programmer to be able to access that data in an efficient way. So what we have today is we have instant access to all of the data that we could ever dreamed of, and what's been very interesting is there were lots of pieces of data that we knew we'd love to have, but we'd kind of given up hope of having. Now we not only have that data, but we have data that we've only realized since was possible to access. So now, for example, I could tell you, you could tell me any product in this company and I could tell you what percentage failure rate we've had over the last 2 years. You could tell me a serial number and I could tell you which order it came from, which invoice it came from, who it was sold to, how it got there, literally every piece of information possible. I can see that from anywhere in the world. I can see that from my phone. I can edit things from my phone. I can understand who's performing well, who isn't performing well perhaps. I can understand which quotations are out of expiry. We've just got a full picture of the business, and each individual in the company has their own window into the business, so everyone doesn't have to see everything. So we've got downstairs can understand purely when goods are going out. They can now achieve 99.9% dispatch on time rates because they have all the data available to make sure that happens. So what I thought was really important when we were developing this, when we were framing how this CRM looks, is to get everyone involved. I think the worst decision would have been to just assume that I understand how everyone in the business works and their challenges and problems, and define the whole system on my own. So what was a crucial part of this was involving everyone. When we're working on the RMA section, involving operations. When we're working on the accounts section, clearly involving accounts. But everyone was invested in it during the development phase. So everyone was able to define and solve their problems prior to launch, than saying, this system now isn't good for me, I've got this long list of problems to solve. So I think everyone had investment in it. It wasn't pushed on to people, they helped shape it. So one of the big unexpected benefits we saw is we had our most successful year ever. So we had our highest turnover ever by a factor of, I think, 30%. But actually we weren't any busier as a result, which was really interesting. You'd think naturally you're turning over more, everyone's more busy, but the fact we'd streamlined our processes so much actually meant there was no noticeable change to the amount of resource required to fulfill 30% more orders than there was without. So that's been the biggest eye-opener for me, I suppose. It's benefited us operationally in, an obvious example to us is how many orders we dispatch on time. So that was a very difficult metric to gather previously, and now we have a graph of that we can see instantaneously. Various alarms will go off if, for example, 2 orders were shipped late in a month, which is unheard of. Alarms would go off and issues would be addressed. We're able to monitor importation costs, so that was something we were never able to monitor before. We were able to monitor why we didn't convert opportunities. If we did, we don't convert every opportunity. Sometimes we're out on price, sometimes we don't have the product in stock. One of the positive business changes we've been able to make is understanding we've lost opportunities through lead time. So we've been able to address that by now holding a load of product in stock and it's available next day, and now we're converting the opportunities we used to lose. The next steps in our CRM journey is ideas. I'm constantly sitting at home, I'm out somewhere else, and I'm like, maybe we could do this. And the great thing I like about Workbooks is it's always possible. There is always a way to do something. I'd say to those that are looking at their current CRM and wondering how inefficient it is, it's probably the iceberg effect, which means that the 10% of inefficiency you can see, there's probably another 90% of inefficiency you can't see and problems you can't see. I'm really glad we took the plunge when we did, and And what I loved about it is it wasn't a one-off investment. We haven't made that investment 2 years ago and now we're 2 years out of date. The system's constantly evolving, it's constantly having features added to it. So I'd advise other people in this position that you can delay this for as long as you like, but you're just going to have more and more inefficiency and it's going to prevent business growth. So bite the bullet earlier, make the investment and reap the benefits for longer.